So next up, we have emergency rental assistance. So earlier this month, the CDC under the Biden administration allowed the existing then eviction moratorium to expire, and Congress also did not act before breaking for August recess. They did not act on extending the eviction moratorium. This to myself and to Representative Cori Bush, as well as Representatives Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, Mondaire Jones, Jimmy Gomez, and many other representatives in the US Congress, was utterly unacceptable. And so this is kind of the middle school stuff sometimes that we see in Congress. There are some people, very likely, there's probably very likely overlap with those 10 conservative Democrats that I was telling you about earlier, and the folks that did not want to extend the national eviction moratorium. But essentially what we know is that there were folks that would have rather have left town than actually cast a vote on whether we should extend the national eviction moratorium. So instead of voting to extend it, and I don't mean voting yes or no, but just voting at all, they didn't want to cast their vote. They decided to leave town. And so myself and some of the other representatives that I mentioned earlier said that is completely unacceptable, and we helped lead a protest on the steps of the Capitol. Myself and Cori Bush and many others slept on the steps of the Capitol for several days, and in order to create the political pressure necessary to prompt the Biden administration to extend the moratorium. And we were successful. And I want to thank many of our constituents, because there was actually a decent amount of constituents that hopped on buses that we provided from here in our district down to Washington, D.C. to also lend their support. And we were successful. And so what we did and what those actions resulted in was eviction protections for 11 million Americans for the month of August. Now, what happened last night was that the Supreme Court overturned the moratorium, and they ended the federal moratorium and said that it could not continue. Now, some people would say, see, there you go, we told you so. But to those folks who say that it was not worth it, I say that protecting 11 million people, even if it's for the month of August, is worth it. Now, the question is, what do we do now? Now the Supreme Court has overturned the moratorium, we need to do two things. One, we need to make sure that we push and advocate for New York's moratorium to be reinstated and extended, and to extend that and try to figure out what we can do to protect renters statewide. Secondly, we must also pressure Congress once again to take that vote. The reason that the Supreme Court is overturning this moratorium, and even when they warned the first time that they might, is because members of Congress do not want to cast this vote. And we have to say, listen, we must cast this vote. And here is why. In the last several COVID packages, both under the Trump administration and during the Biden administration, we authorized an emergency rental assistance program. Now, when we look at back rent in the United States, we're looking at something like a total debt of about $21 billion. Congress authorized $46 billion in order to pay people's back rent across the country. So we allocated more funds than was even necessary at that time, because we were anticipating future need due to the ongoing pandemic. Now, what is happening is that those funds were given to states to allocate. And particularly under the Cuomo administration, not $1 was sent out in emergency rental assistance as of about June, late June or early July, I believe. Now Governor Hochul has taken over. I have been in contact with the governor, and we have discussed how we get these funds out to mom and pop landlords and tenants as quickly as possible. But we need time. It is extremely important that people are able to get the assistance that they need, that people can, that mom and pops can pay their landlords, and that tenants don't have, and that we can wipe out back rent for tenants. Now, here is the issue here, and here's where I also need your help. About 800,000 New Yorkers are eligible for emergency rental assistance. That's almost 1 million people. 800,000 New Yorkers are eligible. From the data that we have today, only 160,000 New Yorkers have applied for emergency rental assistance. And here is the deal. Moratorium or no moratorium, applying for emergency rental assistance, not even if you've gotten it yet, just applying helps give you protection against eviction. So I am asking you, I am begging you, if you have back rent that you owe and you have not yet applied for emergency rental assistance, please go to this website that is listed right here and apply. If you know someone, if you have family, if you have friends, if you have coworkers, just please, we're going to drop this link in the chat. Please just copy this link and put it in your notes app in your phone and just text it to people that you know may need this help. Because right now, especially with the overturning of the eviction moratorium, applying alone can give you legal protections from eviction. And so please, 800,000 people in New York State alone are eligible for emergency rental assistance, but only 160,000 people have applied. So that's, about one in 4, 1 in 5-ish, 1 in 6-ish people. Sorry, I shouldn't have engaged in ratios on live TV as I'm talking to you all, but essentially out of 160K, 800,000 are eligible, only 160K have applied. So we need to bump those numbers up. If you owe any back rent at all, please apply with this link. The criteria is getting easier the criteria is getting easier in order to apply. There used to be all this red tape. Either if you were a mom and pop landlord trying to make sure that you scrape something together for to pay a mortgage, or if you are a tenant, we are just trying to make sure that people are guaranteed in their right to housing. So please, please, please apply for this emergency rental assistance. Again, applying alone, even if you haven't gotten your check yet, can protect you from eviction. So that is that. Again, take this link, put it in your notes app so that you have it when you're talking to someone at work, when you're talking to your neighbor, etc. And please know that, especially when it comes to issues of finances, when it comes to issues of owing money and back rent, that you are not alone. This is like one of the most common conditions that people are in during the pandemic. Do not let shame keep you from getting financial help. Please just click on the link and apply. We're here for you, and we're doing everything that we can to ensure that we get this protection.